Among the shenanigans that the prosecution played were keeping the interviews that the FBI conducted and the Enron Task Force conducted with various people out of the hands of the defense. Various witnesses that were in trial were interviewed multiple times, and only a fraction of that was actually delivered in the form of summarized notes from the FBI. In the case of my cousin, when the FBI interviewed him, my cousin was not allowed to take notes. His team was not allowed to take notes. Only the FBI are allowed to take notes in those interviews. Then the FBI gets to decide what from those notes is to be delivered to the defense as part of the discovery process. So they filter, they summarize, they rearrange, and in some cases they don't always give the full story of what was told during any given interview. Moreover, a record of each interview that's done is not always provided to the defense. So in addition to rearranging and reworking what interviews are delivered to the defense, there were many cases in this trial when interviews were conducted and no information was given to the defense. Over the months that the prosecution delivered evidence to, or materials from the Enron archives to the defense team, over 80 million documents were delivered over that period of time, which was an enormous amount of material to have to sift through. The prosecution had their storytellers that they were going to use to make their case, and it was really up to the defense to go through the evidence and find ways to prove that those stories were not true, based on the records as they existed. Then they had to fight the judge to allow those records to be admitted, and fight the prosecution, who always wanted them to be not admitted if they were in any way exculpatory for the defense. You know, they just didn't want to have anything in there except their spin on any given document. And if it wasn't a document they introduced into evidence, they didn't want it in the case, and they would fight it. And most of the time the judge gave them what they wanted. Again and again it was shown that the prosecution witnesses were not telling the truth. Virtually every single prosecution witness was able to be impeached and shown not to be credible, and in many cases were shown to be outright saying things that weren't true. One of the things the prosecution is supposed to do is admit when a witness is lying. In the case of Bill Collins and Shauna Meyer and others, when the witnesses would lie and the defense would bring in evidence to show that they were lying, the prosecution would either ignore the evidence if, after they fought to keep it out, it was allowed in, or they would minimize, try to dismiss its importance and continue on with their case as if it didn't matter that the witness had been caught in a lie. They never did own up to any of the lies that the prosecution witnesses made from the stand as lies. They never really, they showed what their interest was in the truth again and again in the courtroom by never acknowledging that their witnesses were saying things on the stand that weren't true.